But coming back to competing here in EU this season, playing with Crazy, he's a pretty decent player for him to be playing with, to be fair. People that don't know, Spinaldo actually went to NA to pursue a career in football, playing football, soccer for you Americans.
I was about to ask you, football or football?
Yeah, the real one, basically. And he's been doing quite well here, but I think he's back in EU for the summer and choosing to play FMCS.
Just getting tagged up. Just trying to save up himself, back opponents up, give himself something to work with. And it's going to be interesting to see how he can continue to keep himself alive in this situation. Because his teammates knocked. He has multiple players around him, have the high ground with both MK Alphas, Flapjacks, and even the Mammoth that we keep talking about that can destroy and destruct builds and even go right through if you time it right with your teammate. Shades of the old heavy sniper.
Yeah, and the mid-game struggles continue for Bush and Mustache, not consistently making it deep, struggling with certain zones.
You can kind of see the early leaderboard breaking down. Third place, Baja Mixon. Down, out, open for the taking. And even though it's very, very early on, you could easily have a pop-off game. You can move up the leaderboards. We saw it last week, 20, 30 places players and teams are moving up. But at the top level, it's these crucial moments that you look back and you really make a difference. You watch the VODs and you realize how easy it is to fix those mistakes. And I can see a lot of teams just week after week fixing a lot of their mistakes. And that's why you're seeing a whole skill level of a region elevate week after week.
Everybody learning from the players who are doing well. Hen and Uguay instantly up on the island, making their intentions clear, but they will be contested here. They won't get it for free. Shakos and Yus are very much gonna give them a run for their money.
Yep, but on the point itself, it is gonna be Hen, who's separated so far from his teammate Uguay. Little by little continues to build up towards that high ground. You have to watch out, because if you get chopped, it'll all come crumbling down, and he beats him to the punch. He doesn't want to let it lie in their hands if he's going to get chopped down or not. He just wants to reunite hip to hip along with Hen. And these are crucial points for them here in Game 2. 15 points for capturing this Rift Island, but nobody wants to let those 15 points go easy, especially if you're already on top of Rift Island contesting it.
Yeah, this is a tough fight to go for a lot of the time, but they've sort of been allowed to claim it easier than what we see other teams sort of go through to be able to claim things. A fight over here at Mega City is one that will involve Mr. Savage Adil, Chicho, and Trulex. You can see Chicho and Trulex waiting for those two to expose themselves so they could potentially get some shots off. The time didn't come, and so they'll now try to get to zone, and they're very cautious of the fact that they're there. They know where they need to be careful of, what angles they need to block off.
And traveling through there is going to give them a decent sense of comfortability.
Yeah, for sure.
Can't easily break into the build, but we have Cammy and Seti on screen. We're going to throw it over to Mini Miner to break down how their game has went up until this point.
Their game's going pretty well so far, Jacob. We know Cammy and Seti, they always have interesting strategies, and look at this from Cammy. He's actually sat on top of the cache, throwing some of the extra loot and heals all the way over to Seti, and then he just decides, you know what, I'm going to leave Seti there, getting that Storm Surge damage whilst I go and farm up. You can see his materials looking really, really solid, and all the while, Seti sat inside of that bush, trying to use that new Mammoth Pistol, gets a huge tag onto some of the players in the distance as well, and this is exactly how they're playing it out, separately, but playing well.
Yeah, that's nice, right? Because I think a lot of the times you see teams who play towards the edges of the map playing split for Surge, and you sort of can understand why a lot of the time there's not that many players around, and so you can almost get away with it. You're less likely to be punished. These guys are slap bang in the center, and yet still managing to make that kind of style work. They're not split ridiculously far, but covering as many angles and trying to claim as much map control as they possibly can. It's a key to their success when it comes to Storm Surge. Malibuka Thomas course, the leaders of the day so far.
No strange thing. It's almost like we're taking a trip to the past for a moment. Nazy and Podesai got their position just out of zone. You're seeing a view of the map right now, and so many teams on the northeast end of the map. They're going to have to rotate, and they're going to run into each other. And that's the roadblock analyst Vivid was breaking down to start the show. So the teams in the center of the map right now, if you do not have Surge, you've got to start planning where you're going to get it, if you're going to rotate for it, or just try to hold on to your position. But for Podesai and Snazy, their worry isn't Surge. It's about rotating his zone with so many teams all around him. Quickly beams a couple of shields off of one, but still has his eyes set on the prize. Peeking through the cone, the information right now that he is gathering is so vital in terms of keeping them alive and figuring out where they're going to box up next.
Mr. Savage getting involved in the action. We saw them at Mega City earlier. And this...
Oh, wow.
Oh my god, whoa, that was nasty. That shocked me into... I can't speak.
Those are the moments you go back and rewatch, and you're almost just as mad as when it happened to you. I almost got around the corner, Mr. Savage. Is it for you kids and meddling dog? I almost got away with it. Just like Hen, just trying to peek towards the backside with the Mammoth. Takes some damage himself, but you can kind of see what his plan is because the zone is going to move over in his direction. He's trying to preemptively get his spot where he wants to go. That way, when the zone continues to pull in that direction, it's a lot easier to rotate to where he needs to be. Almost gets close to another team. You can see him and Oogway are separated from each other, and Oogway needs to find some hills because he's still in the zone rotating.
Almost getting close to another team. He got really close to another team. It's crazy. And Spanana, and yeah, they're going to just be able to cut him off. Oogway's got to cut across those guys to be able to get in. And that's not going to be something easy to do. He won't really be able to be picked up either. So, Hen's going to have to play this one out solo.
He's got a double reroll going out.
Ooh. Will he make
Trying to think, what augments would you be saving? I'm trying to think. Because the Wild Wasp jars got vaulted. Maybe medium ammo. Maybe a soaring sprint. You don't want to use it now to rotate, but you want to save it for later if you have high ground. I think this season has some really good augments in terms of just combining them together with your loadout. So if you might be in shambles, you might have gray loot, you might have green loot. With a couple of augments, it may not feel like it. First Assault is going to be one of them. Oogway, I see Oogway go down in the feed. Ref Scarf take him out. Wheat goes down to fall damage. Eclipse and panics. You saw that early fight where he almost got snuck up on. Since then, haven't had too much to worry about because the zone continues to pull in their favor up until this point.
Golden Clown looking over towards the east. They know there's at least one team there, but there's not much traffic moving through that way. So blocking off the rest of the lobby to focus on those teams might not bear as fruitfully as they'd hope it to. Hen down below on Surge, way down below on Surge. He's gonna need a very on-point Mammoth shot or a miracle to keep him in this game. Both possible, of course.
And typically in the zone, you'll see a lot of the teams either go to the left or the right, not necessarily right down the middle where they're both at. So they might have to be on the hunt to get Surge. And I say they very loosely because we saw Oogway go down to the Storm overall. Creeps back in, trying to find any scraps that are left over. Lucio and Steno on the other side, feeling a little bit of that pressure. Quickly backs on up and changes layers. That's going to be the important part because now he can't remain being the focus of either one of these two teams, as they are the meat in the middle of that sandwich. But now everybody has to rotate, and you can see in the minimap so many players, so many full teams are beginning to rotate first. That means they have the chance to hold both Steno and Lucy out if they want to. Down on Surge, they feel like they have to go. They got the green light. They see he's a solo. Rolls just gets taken down just like that. See, they got a huge refresh when it comes to the build, just adding on top of that. But when it comes to the damage, barely 84 above the threshold. It's enough to allow them to rotate comfortability, but it's not enough because they're going to be looking for more later on in the game.
Oh, Thomas HD. so on point with every shot given. Look how above on Surge they are. That's never going to be a worry for them, especially with this pistol in the game now. But how they maneuver through these end games is going to be the main worry, the main concern, the main thing they need to get a grip on. Malabuka very much has to take the lead and direct the team in where they move. Hen, we obviously knew he was going for some heroics, and heroics he will achieve. Some nice shots there, but eventually was humbled and brought back down to earth.
It's just one of those things, if you're Hen, you almost have to go for that siphon, that refresh, especially as a solo. You don't want to be down mats rotating in these moving zones. So many dangerous players, especially with the mammoths and that height. This Fire Bro is going to be a solo, but he has to make sure to continue to put out pressure and damage so teams don't necessarily look up and try to threaten him. 146 above the damage threshold. A good position for him to be in as a solo, and you can see him continuing to build height, making himself look a lot tougher than he really is as a solo.
Yeah, projecting outwardly to the rest of the lobby that he's strong and comfortable up there, even though we know that's not necessarily the case. This is Savage and Vidil. They've got bigger fish to fry though. They're trying to find their way in, and Savage very much looking for that time. And you can see running in here on the right side of the zone. Gonna be careful with some metal here just to secure themselves in, and now that they've made their way in, you can see Vidil already scouting out, looking for opportunities for any vulnerable players they can pick up.
Farming all this brick down low towards the low ground, just making sure that they're set, ready to continue. And you can see they're on the other side of the zone by themselves. Very little people contesting on that side. That's going to give them a huge amount of space to work with. Thomas, Malabuka, same thing can't be said. They're making space for themselves, getting another elimination, taking out Sined, sending him back to the lobby. Razumi was taken down by Malabuka as well, so that's a pair of eliminations for the duo.
And the timing of this is so paramount. Look at it, there's extra materials on the floor. These guys are both capped out. They have all the materials they could possibly ask for. At this stage in the game, they could just top out the rest of the game. Don't even have to do anything, but we know that's not going to be the case with them two. They're going to want more. They're going to fight for more. But this is setting up to be another really good game for the Game 1 winners, Mr. Savage and Vidil. They're going to have to try and elevate themselves now in some sort of way. Savage looking for potential chop. And you can see just looking around, scouting, assessing all his different options. It's hard for them to top out with the mats they have. They need to start being proactive. Can't be too passive now with the remaining zones.
Yeah, the awareness to know they don't have the resource to continue that fight. If it breaks off into a build fight, they'll be fresh out, falling to the low ground with no builds trying to scavenge. So they give it up to Smee and Vacant. We're now putting pressure on the rest of the lobby with 200 above the damage threshold. I said 107, excuse me there. They continue to look for any set of shots that they could look for. Seti and Cammy go down low. This is a good opportunity for them to pick up eliminations.
Yeah, but up on high, those guys need to be more aware. There was a massive blind spot to their left they have to watch out for. Need to be careful that they don't get caught out up above. There will be teams that potentially could vie for it. But as you said, some of the teams down below, the likes of the Setis, the Camis, the Thomas and Malabukas of the world, they're really feeling it this game. They're in their element.
And they're definitely feeling comfortable here, but Thomas, he takes a huge shot, forced to back up, reunites with Malabuka yet again, but the high ground is going to be dominated and won by both Fast Strokey and Kylie. Better late than never. If they have the resources to hold on to this, they could be in prime position to take the game, especially with so much chaos going down low on the low ground. Everybody's just trying to stay ahead. You see Seti and Cammy yet again making that smart play. They don't drop ultimate low ground, and they're staying in front of everybody else and making sure that they recycle as many of the mats and resources as they can.
And they still have so much to work with. Seti's inventory looks stacked. Everybody else in the lobby really needs to hope that somebody can give them a run for their money quickly, because otherwise they're going to be an ever-present team in this lobby. You can see Oda and Vasquez very much aware there could be solos in the back of the zone, lurking. Anybody that they can use to keep themselves kicking in this game.
This is exactly it. These are the moments right here that separate the best from championship materials. Vidil and Savage, they're doing a good job with very low resources, staying ahead, front side of zone. This is where everybody begins to drop and the battle begins. There goes the elimination from Thomas onto Refsguard as well. Everybody picking up crucial moments here in the late game. Combine that with Siphons, trying to keep themselves alive.